Looking for a brand new or used firearm in or around Hartselle, Alabama? Head on down to Byford's Gun Shop and explore their latest offers and deals. On top of a great selection of high quality and affordable firearms to fit your needs, their staff will have you driving away with a smile. Byford's is a third-generation business that has been serving customers since 1971. Started by Joe and his father Ernest, the business continues to prosper well into the 21st century with Jeff Byford's knowledge and leadership. With brands like Benelli, Glock, Sig Sauer, and many others, you won't go wrong. Also check out their large selection of AR-15s and hunting rifles and many calibers. Byford's carries ammunition, special installation service, knives, accessories, transfers, and customer service that's second to none. Stop in and see them at 510 Main Street West in Hartselle, Alabama, or like them on Facebook at Byford's Gun Shop. Their team can be reached at 256-778-3111. That's Byford's Gun Shop, where they go the extra mile to satisfy your shopping experience. Head on over today. They'll be waiting for you with friendly faces.
3, 2, 1, 0.
You're listening to the Knives Templars.
Get ready, y'all. We about to Bobby Boucher you. Bam!
I got a piece off of the wagon that Sam Houston used to take JFK to the moon.
Pinto sauce. I like that. Pinto sauce.
Pinto sauce. You're tuned in to the Knives Templars podcast, featuring Odysseer Special Sauce Pinto.
I was a mean kid.
Long-time listener, first-time caller. Eric T.R.E. Rivers.
Holy crap, I built something.
Don the Train Watson.
Never slap a man in the face chewing tobacco.
Joey the Riot Terrier.
Cochon de lait will make you smack your lips and anyone getting too close to your plate.
Luke Beerslinger Berry.
I know there's a certain look that I'm trying to go for.
And Chip Shegman Carlisle. And now broadcasting alive, it's the Knives Templars. Coming to you live from Porkhouse Studios located in Hartselle, Alabama and other U.S. locations. This is the Knives Templars podcast. We are the coolest knife-making podcast on the planet, and we are downloaded around this big blue marble in over 24 countries. We are on air, on demand, and heard worldwide in all of your favorite apps and at knivestemplars.com. Hey, welcome to Season 2, Episode 20. Hey, we're not at 100, but that's a milestone. Welcome to the Knives Templars. I'm Chip Carlisle, your host of the best podcast out on the internet. And I say that confidently because we are growing in the search engines and we're standing on our own. I'm here tonight with Odysseer Pinto, Don the Train Watson, and Eric Rivers. How you guys doing?
Doing good.
Real good.
All right, well, we've been out doing our things for the past couple of weeks. We also got a special guest for the Pops Maker Mark series, and we'll have him on here in just a little bit. But guys, I tell you what, we're almost a year into this, and our downloads are increasing. I'm getting more feedback, and last episode I said, hey, if someone else claims to be the best knife-making podcast out there, well, they probably are because they're all good. Well, I still believe that they're all good, but I tell you what, we bring something special to knife-making, don't we?
Hey. Yes, we do.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man.
Let's see if that comes up on somebody else's podcast this week. Those guys think they are. Hey, we're just friends of all you other guys with podcasts and knife making out there. Hey, you want to hear what's on the menu for tonight? Been working on a long menu this week.
What you got?
This week's menu, we have the brew review. Somebody signed a deal. We signed a deal with getting me a Florida Man. Did you know I got a Florida Man, Don?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Don's got some Florida Man. Did you drink one of them Florida Men? Well, we'll talk about it. I had to buy a 4-pack with 3 other beers and 1 Florida Man, but I found a Florida Man. We've got some knife news for you tonight. We've got eating nails and crapping barbed wire with Odysseer Pinto. We're going to see what's upsetting Odysseer this week. It's our new segment. I'm so mad I could eat nails and crap barbed wire. Say that with a Brazil accent.
Nah, man, come on.
Can you say it? Can you say it in can you say it in Portuguese?
Oh yeah.
Let me hear you say eat nails, crap barbed wire.
All right. comer prego e cagar arame farpado.
It doesn't sound quite as southern. But we'll go there. We'll go there.
It is. Literal translation. Eat. Eat nails, scrap barbed wire.
There you
Come
go.
prego, caga arame farpado.
Now you say it. It's
I
just
had
on
to
how
think
you
about it for a second. I mean,
Now,
it's been a long time since
it's all in how you say it. We've got the Maker's Mark, and we have a buddy here. He's from Florida. So this is called the Florida Man. That's it. That is our episode title, the Florida Man episode. We'll see how that goes, and we'll get to him in just a few minutes. But then we've got some neat stuff tonight to talk to you about. We're going to talk about some knife making information. We're going to get on to the forging series. As you know, if you've been watching out there, Eric Rivers is working on a forging series right now on YouTube, and man, he's got some exciting stuff. And I will tell you, my buddy Otis here has been banging out stolen automotive parts from the off of people's cars, probably politicians, right?
I hope.
Oh man.
No, he's not stealing parts, but he's been coming up with some neat metal parts and doing some metal stamping himself, or metal whacking, and I'm about to do some, so I'm going to listen real intently to what they have to say tonight. Without further ado, I'm drinking my Michelob Ultra tonight, just to put me in the mood, and that's not much of a mood once you've had a Florida Man. I bought a 4-pack at a store here in Decatur, Alabama, that had 4 beers in it, and one of them was a Florida Man. I wasn't going to pay the price for 2, even though last time we talked about the funky Buddha, the funky German Buddha.
Yeah,
That's right.
Said I wouldn't drive across the street. I'll drive back to Decatur if I can get 2 Florida Men in a box. But anyway, hey, the Florida Man. I had heard about the Florida Man on another podcast, and this sounded like something I just needed to put in my mouth. What does Florida Man have to say? The world needs heroes, and in our home state of Florida, only a very special hero will do. We've got a hero on here tonight from Tampa, Florida. We're going to get to him in just a minute. He's a Florida Man. Disregard what I said just a few seconds ago, Oh, gosh.
You got me dying over here.
Open mouth, insert Florida Man.
Man.
Oh, what? A hero who's forgotten more about amateur taxidermy and alligator wrestling than you'll ever know. That's me, baby. That's me. And I'm not even a Florida Man, but I've been to Florida. What better way to pay a tribute to the beloved Florida Man than with a big old double India Pale Ale brewed with nearly criminal amount of hops. I'm going to tell you, this is a 5 hops beer. And a moderate bitterness that is just about matches Florida Man's general disposition. What is your disposition, Don?
Well, I had tasted it, and it's pretty good beer.
Well, I'm not done yet. You were supposed to give me an oh yeah or whatever you do.
Oh yeah.
That's Florida Man disposition, I believe. This hopped up whopper of a beer is big in character and guaranteed to sear itself into your memory, just like the world's worst superhero. The world's worst superhero, Florida Man. That's what it says on their box there, buddy.
That's right.
I'm going to tell you what I thought, and then you fill me in, Don, because undoubtedly you've had a Florida Man too. I picked up a pack driving through Decatur. Told you about that little 4-pack. It pours kind of a hazy straw yellow. It's got a nice white head on it. Smell is floral, fruity. It's tropical. It's got a little papaya, mango, and pine in it. I like a little pine in my beer. Taste follows your nose, juicy hop, citrus, bitterness. It's just wonderful. It felt kind of hoppy and juicy in my mouth. The alcohol content is hidden. What is the alcohol content on that box there, Don? You be looking at it here. Let me know.
8.5.
8.5. Maybe that's why I like that Florida Man so much.
Yeah.
It leaves you with a refreshed palate and leaves you wanting another. 5 yops. 5 yops. That's better than hops. 5 hops. Heck yeah, Florida Man. the worst superhero, Florida Man. Don, what's your take on Florida Man?
Well, I had one, and I kind of gave up beer a few years back, but I tell you what, it was a good taste. You like a citrus taste, a hoppy background on the last swallow. It was real hoppy, but it was really good. Real good, smooth beer. Made
you feel kind of like you were at Epcot Center riding that hang glider ride where they spray that citrusy smell and make you feel like you're really cascading over the Florida citrus trees.
I'll tell you the truth, it was beautiful. I really enjoyed it.
The ride or the beer?
Both.
Oh, I enjoyed that ride too. Hey, David, hold up your thumb if you've drank a Florida Man. Uh-oh, here we go. We're going to bring our special host, and we're not going to talk about anything other than Florida Man, David. Yeah, here we go.
All right.
David, are you with us?
I'm here.
David, fill us in on Florida Man.
Oh, it's delicious. I haven't actually had it in quite a while, and I was this close to getting it tonight. But sitting right next to it was something I'd never had before, and I ended up grabbing that one.
What are you drinking?
I am drinking The Other West Coast.
Not Florida Man.
By Escape Brewing Company. It's new to me.
Yeah.
It's by a brewery in Wesley Chapel, Florida, which is just down the road from me.
Yep.
So they're local boys, so I thought I'd give them a try, and it is delicious.
Well, I'm loving these craft beer, small beer brewers, and I've got a fraternity brother in college that got me started on it because he is the brewmaster for a craft brewery and teaches classes on brewing. So I'm not a connoisseur. I'm just a guy that laughs at how they describe their beers, but it was good. Otis here, just for you, the other West Coast is Florida has a West Coast.
Oh, I do know that.
Did you know that Detroit is slightly north of the Canadian border?
Not really, no.
It is.
Oh, yeah?
When I lived up in Detroit, I used to make people kind of weird out. They go, "Where are you from?" I'm like, "I'm from Michigan." They go, "Where?" I go, "About 20 miles north of the Canadian border," and they'd scratch their heads. The Southerners would, because they had to figure out that the bridge crossing's about 20 miles south of Detroit. So you're still crossing over from Michigan, but you're north of the Canadian border where I lived. So there you go. Florida Man. David, we're going to have you back in a few moments. Thank you for that. And you'll have a few minutes. So if you want to run across the street and buy a Florida Man, go right ahead. We'll be right back. And now, ching, 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 ching. What about knife news? You guys got any knife news? You guys got any knife news? Nothing else going out there? I guess I'm that guy again tonight. Knife news. Here we go. You know, we were talking last time about the Ohio and their blade laws changing from city to city. Well, the state next door is just as crazy. Got here that the Pennsylvania Switchblade Ban Repeal, or HB 1929, makes it legal now to own and carry automatic knives. So we're talking about the spring assist. Who makes those spring assists? Come on, guys, help me out here.
Like Kershaw's, or are you talking about the ones that
are they pop straight in and out? Yeah,
Microtex and stuff like that.
Yeah. And I think that's where it's coming, because they were calling those switchblades.
OTFs.
But now it's going to make it legal anyway, and it goes into effect January 2nd. As we stand right now, the only legally acceptable reason for owning an automatic knife is to have it as a curio. Now, that's not something you put on burgers, is it? A sauce?
I don't think it is.
No, I don't think so either.
Well, what was the name of that sauce last episode? I couldn't remember. It started with an A.
Aioli.
Aioli, because I was listening to the episode and I kept going a PG or Pukala or something like that, and y'all are saying it over and over, and I just wasn't listening. An aioli sauce, but I think it's to have it as a curio, which means you might keep it in a curio cabinet or on display, and of course you can't carry it; it's prohibited. So according to official knife rights, You can own one, you just can't get it to your house. According to the official Knife Rights press release, HB 129's journey wasn't a sure thing until Penn touched the paper with some unexpected issues nearly scuppering the entire project at the 11th hour, says Knife Rights founder Doug Ritter. Thank you, Doug Ritter. What a man. He said, I would like to thank all who emailed their legislators to support Knife Rights efforts on HB 129 that worked diligently with our friends in the House and Senate to get HB 1929 bipartisan support, resulting in votes of 202 to 1. That was pretty good. Good. I mean, that's bipartisan. That's what we want to see in this country, in the House, and 50 to 0 in the Senate. You never hear of that today. No. Why is this? This is a bigger success story than Ohio, is it not? Because Ohio was just split. I am especially appreciative of Governor Wolf for signing this bipartisan bill to advance freedom and criminal justice reform in Pennsylvania. This repeal is the culmination of 10 years of knife right efforts by this gentleman in Pennsylvania. So this release also brings up another important point, which is the work is not done in Pennsylvania. Specifically, there is no knife law preemption in place, which means the local ordinances can still override state law. There goes the Ohio thing. Making it illegal to carry automatic knives within their jurisdiction. Sounds like the old Ohio before September, you know. And I tell you what, why that really gets to me is because, you know, well, you're going to say it. We got the right to carry those things, do we not?
That's right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
That's right.
Absolutely no sense that you cannot carry almost any specific type of knife. If the fact that you can carry a firearm in some of these states, but you can't carry a specific knife, that is nuts. And for one, nothing makes an OTF or an out the front knife more dangerous than a fixed blade or a regular pocket knife. They're all
or a flip knife that you can just flip it open. Yeah,
correct.
You know, yeah, and you know, it's crazy, and it's like I've said before. If you go in and read the police sheets, you're not seeing these types of knives that they're saying. You know, the switchblade type knife or hunting knife or this, that, and the other outperforming are being used to perform these or attacks and murders and things like that. It's steak knives and butcher knives.
Yeah,
that's what people grab.
Kitchen knives.
Yeah. Well, an OTF knife is not an efficient knife for trying to harm somebody. A lot of them have safety features built into them to keep you from accidentally stabbing yourself. And those safety features will kick in if you're trying to stab somebody else with it. And most of those blades are tiny. Like, they're really short blades because they have to fit inside the handle.
You hear that, Otis, here? Tiny blades.
So
that's why I don't have one.
It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. You can carry like a Bowie knife. Yeah, because you have to fit the blade. David is holding up one right now. You got to fit the blade inside that knife. So the blade itself is really small. And they do have safety features to where if you tried to open it up with the actual, by clicking it open, if your hand was in front of it, it would actually stop the knife before it came all the way out. So you're not...
So no fear of becoming a eunuch.
Correct. And
as long as you engage a safety.
Like the least dangerous knife out of like all knives. It's ridiculous. There's probably butter knives that are worse than that.
Yeah.
And you know, think it's like the kind of the Jedi lightsaber. You know, you poke a button and it just goes through whatever is in front of it.
Through whatever.
Yeah. And I do want to say this. I mean, we sit and we talk about we're proponents for knives. We make knives. We love them, and we love the art of it. But you know, I don't want to. I wrote this or found this story and put it into the show notes for this week, right after last show, so 2 weeks ago. And of course, last weekend we had a very serious assault take place that resulted in the death of 4 young individuals. You know, that should not have left this earth over, was it in Idaho, I believe? And, you know, that's the act of a deranged individual, not knowing what type of knife they were used or anything else. You know, we're totally against knife violence or violence in any sort, whether it's hands, bare knuckles, or brass knuckles, knives, guns, you know, whatever. That's not what we're about, but we are about the right to carry. And I think that we just need to continue to support that.
So here's the deal: we are against violence in general, but I'd be against potato violence. I'd be against chair violence. I'd be against headlight violence. I'd be against computer violence. It's the Violence Act that we're against.
Oh yeah.
The what they choose to do is whatever is convenient for them at that moment, and of course, sometimes they use things that we make.
Well, it's interesting you say that because I had a cousin that shot me with a potato gun back in the mid '80s.
I've been shot before too.
Could you call him and let him have it for me? Because I was rather young and it hurt. I cried. Potato
big
guns
bruise.
Potato guns can bruise you, but that's just boys being rednecks.
Been there, done that.
Been there, done that. What'd you say when you were a kid?
I was a shooter, though.
I was a bad kid. I think that's what I've heard you say before.
Yeah. I was the shooter.
You were a bad kid. So here's another one. Oregon, their permit to buy deadline is coming up. Gun sales are literally going to shut down in a couple weeks because you got to have a permit to buy, and all that's still tied up in the legislation. So if you are a person from Oregon, not only will you be prohibited from buying a gun in your state unless they get this thing worked out, you can't go to another state and buy a gun. Now, you may be able to buy a hunting rifle or something like that and transport it back. I'm not sure of their state laws, but just more craziness. And the only thing that I have to say about all that is I believe in a balance of power. And I say I don't get political. I know these are political statements, but I'm very glad there's a balance of power, so to speak, between Congress and the Senate right now. And I know this is a state law, but hopefully we won't see the federal government getting into trying to sway it one way or the other without having a balance of power to make the decision. Because we know this again gets into the gets into our rights. Ultimately, I'm quite tickled because I'm not sure about Florida. I think Texas you are. Aren't you constitutional carry, Eric?
Yes.
Yeah, and we will be January 23rd. What about you down in there in Florida, Don? Or?
I don't think so yet. I mean, yeah. David might be able to tell us this. We're not yet.
David shaking his head no, but not yet. But and of course, every state with the exception over here on this side of the country, every state except the exception of South Carolina is the only one that kind of drives me crazy with their laws, because unless you're from South Carolina or if you're from Alabama, you can't go to South Carolina carrying any type of concealed weapon because of the laws that they have there. So anyway, talked about Congress. Well, we'll see how they go. There's a balance of power coming up, and let's hope that we see some things sway a little bit more towards middle. I think you don't need to be too far right and too far left. I just like to see things swayed a little bit towards middle. So that's all we got in the knife news. You guys got anything to add? Nothing else going on in your lives?
No, most of the stuff that
knife
related for me will happen whenever I talk about other stuff. Later
did you see
in this episode.
Did you see that
I have
beast?
one thing to say.
Go
I don't
ahead.
know if it's a news thing. Nothing in the news per se, but that lion killer.
Hey, that's good news. Yeah,
makes a really good anus knife.
Yeah, y'all heard that right.
Were you constipated?
No. Remember that guy that asked Chris?
Yes, but we're not going to admit it right now. We're going to see how far we can take this down that road.
So that lion killer makes a good anus knife.
Oh yeah,
that's called the Gaddafi.
Okay,
you're probably too young to remember that.
Good removing the rectum and stuff after your deer is down.
Have you done this with a lion killer? Oh, you've taken a deer.
Yeah.
You've already taken a deer this year?
I'm on my second.
Oh, well, congratulations on that. Yeah. Did you so you killed the fawn and its mother?
Yeah.
All right.
Bambi and Mom.
Okay. So talking about a deer. So this isn't, I wouldn't say this is so much knife news, but this is something that I found out today. And I don't know how I never knew this. And this is probably how you would do it in most states. I don't know. But I was driving down the highway, and there were 2 deer dead on the side of the highway, just missing their heads. And at first I was like, did these deers get decapitated by vehicles? I've never seen that. Typically, they withstand a lot, but what the heck? And I was talking to one of my coworkers, and they were like, yeah, all you got to do is call the game warden, and they'll let you take off the head, and then they'll come pick up the body sometime later. But you can go ahead and take the head as long as you call the game warden. So someone was literally on the side of the road chopping a deer's head off just to put it in the back of their truck and drive off.
I will tell you why. I'll tell you why. This isn't. Hey, we've left knife news. Now we're going on to public access TV type stuff. I just paid $130 for a rack and a skull. What do you call the rack and the skull together? The rack and the skull?
Yeah.
Okay. I just paid $130 amount for a rack and a skull. It's an 8-point, scored like 212. I am making a lamp out of it. So I'm going to take a piece of black steel the size of a barrel. I'm going to sand it down, and then I'm going to blue it. And then I'm going to put that into I'm looking for a piece of cedar oak right now into a base. And I'm going to drill a perfect circle on that. Otis, here, you probably know where that back little dimple is up back behind where the antlers go in. It's where a nerve goes into the skull or comes out of out into the head of the deer. Anyway, I'm going to drill in right there, and then I'm going to mount that on there. So it'll be a skull mount with a barrel coming out of it that goes up into a lamp. And they look very tasteful when they're done. I'll end up taking the deer skull and spraying it with a stabilizer and a kind of almost like an epoxy, and I have to turn it till it sets. I've got something to do that with, so I'm going to turn it into a lamp. So I can tell you there's probably people out there collecting these, because if they take the head, all they got to do is boil it, and they can stick it on eBay and pay charge whatever they can get for it, because there's a lot of guys out there selling them.
Yeah, I'm just I'm so used that if you kill a deer, you do all of this stuff, but I'm just not used to people just taking the heads off of them as they are laying on the side of the road.
I've seen plenty here in Maryland. I've seen plenty here in Maryland. As a matter of fact, I have to say, I've done it once. Wow. I saw this beautiful 6-pointer that had been killed by a car on the side of the road next to the shop. I went there with my knife, and off goes the head.
Did you use your lion killer to take the anus of it too?
No, it was way before the lion killer.
But you were like, if I had just the right knife, I could.
No. I mean, you wouldn't remove the anus unless you're going to process the meat. And I don't know, I didn't kill it, and probably the meat is already.
I didn't kill it. I'm not taking that anus. Well, that's how they make the sausage. I thought they make the sausage with the intestine.
Yeah, but it gotta be a fresh kill.
Gotcha.
This episode is going to be absolutely hilarious to listen to. I cannot wait. I'm going to laugh so hard listening to this whole entire thing. I hope that the people who are listening to this are just enjoying this.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, boy.
We'll see. So, are you going to come out with your own brand of anus knives and just call it the Anus Killer or something like that? Or
I should.
Yeah, Otis Sears Anus Killer.
Hey, somebody came out with something called the butt out, okay?
Yeah.
I tried it.
They did, yeah, and just so everybody knows, there's a knife called the butt out, just so you know. So there is an actual anus knife.
There's an implement called the butt out. I've never seen a knife.
Oh, that's right. It's like an apple core.
Yeah, like a cork, a cork puller.
Yeah.
You stick it in, you twist it a couple of times, and pop it out.
I'm going to need y'all to stop trying to give me these mental images. I don't need the explanation.
Just go on YouTube and click butt out.
Butt out.
I'm not typing that into anything on my computer.
I don't need the FBI saying this guy was looking for
like
butt
a cork
out.
Puller. You push it in, twist it a couple of times, counterclockwise, I think, and then you pull up. Out comes the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then you finish doing the gutting normal, and you're good to go. Clean and clean.
Oh,
Smooth as silk.
Huh. So, like, if somebody goes squirrel hunting, that
It
lion
wouldn't
killer is
fit.
probably big. Do you think that my skookum niblet would be good for butt out on a squirrel?
Oh yeah, probably.
Yeah. See, there you
Yeah.
go. You can't criticize that knife anymore. We found actually the guy who bought that little knife is an Appalachian trail hiker, and he specifically wanted something about that size. It's the cutest little thing. I told him, I said that that will not kill a moose if you walk up on one accidentally. He goes, "Oh, I know where to poke them." So maybe he's already got a butt out. I don't know. And he'll just use that to clean it with. So
Did you
Anyway.
set that up as a pocket knife? Because it looked like it would have been perfect for like just like a nice little pocket setup.
I'm going to tell you what, I'm making one as a pocket knife for myself right now. I've got a piece of wood steel, and I've got it drawn on there is all I've got right now. But it was so cool because when I just slid it in my pocket, it was like carrying a case knife in your pocket.
Yeah.
But the way that little sheath for it has that D-ring on it, so he can clip it onto his pack.
Yeah,
So,
I was
or he
wondering
wants
what
to put
that
it
was
in a neck
for.
knife. Yeah.
Yeah,
He
that would
didn't
be
want any
perfect.
no type of sheath or anything. He wanted to put it in one of his pack pockets or clip it on the D-ring onto one of the D-ring clips, or be able to clip it onto a lanyard just to clip around his neck as a neck knife. And I'm like, this is pretty cool. So,
Chip, how long is that knife? About 6 inches?
No. It was shorter than that. It was just like 4.25.
Okay.
Yeah. And when I go backpacking, unlike Otis here, who takes the arsenal of blades, I typically will take, like an old, what an old timer looks like?
Oh, yeah. I got one.
Yeah, let me
we're
tell you
here.
something about going out into the wild.
Well, let me say this.
and carrying a knife.
Everybody knows what an old timer is.
yeah.
That's a perfect knife. That's a perfect knife for taking into the forest. So there you go.
I disagree.
That's okay. Well, that right there takes us into this week's episode of Eating Nails and Crapping Barbed Wire. With Otis here Pinto. Lead us off, Otis here.
Hey, why me?
You said you disagree. You must be eating nails, baby.
Get her done.
No. You see, I like I said before several times, I rather have a good sizable knife. It doesn't have to be a 15-inch chopper, right? But something that is sizable. And I've been getting into this 7-incher blades now. I really like making those 7-inch blade. That seems to be working pretty well for me right now. And like I said before, anything a large knife will do.
Yeah.
I mean, anything a small knife can do, a large knife can do. But not all that a large knife can do, a small knife can. Okay?
But
So
not
I
all
rather
things
have
that a
carry
large
one.
knife.
If I only carry one knife, it's going to be at least a 7-inch blade now. I downsized it, remember? I used to make them big old 10-inch blades.
Oh, yeah.
So I brought it down to 7, right? More manageable, a little bit lighter, easier to put it in the pack.
What's your overall?
Because I know that knife is going to do everything that a little old-timer can.
So
But
you're
that
telling
old-timer
me
cannot do everything that my knife can. Pretty
a
sure.
large knife can't do everything a small knife can do.
Oh, yes, it can.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Say something. Tell me something that a small knife can do that, let's say, a 7-inch blade can't. Besides being small.
Besides being small?
Fit in your pocket?
Fit in your pocket. Thank you.
Okay, well, okay, I'll give you that one. What else? Keep them coming.
Reach it into an extremely tight place so that you can cut a string.
Hey, the sharp is narrow enough. It'll fit.
Okay. How
Hey,
about...
Look. With the 7-inch blade, I can chop. I can skin. I can cut. I can scrape. I can do a ferro rod. I can even baton. You don't like that, but I can even baton with a 7-inch blade. A little itty-bitty old-timer knife. You can skin, you can cut, but you can't chop. You cannot, for sure, you cannot baton with that thing, even if you wanted, right? So it's limited. It's limited.
I will give you that.
And I will tell you this right now. I will go buck naked before I lose my knife.
Okay. But you don't have to worry about anybody attacking you running around buck naked, trust me.
You know what I'm saying. I will lose everything. I will drop everything before I drop a knife.
You know, let me tell you this. If you ever do lose your knife in the forest.
I have a second one.
And you go buck naked. If somebody walks up to you and you feel threatened, just look at them real kind of crazy and look up at the sky and go, "Thank you, Lord, for this meal I'm about to eat." They won't mess with you. Trust me, they'll run off.
Just introduce them to your anus knife.
And smile real pretty. Maybe do a little song and dance.
Have a little banjo playing on the side.
I feel pretty, pretty. Here is my anus knife. Got a deer?
No. All in good fun, you know. Every knife has its place, right? Yeah. A small knife like that, I would probably use as a daily carry. Right now, as a matter of fact, my daily carry now, just as an experiment, I'm carrying every day on my belt the Lion Killer. And you know the size of that blade. I mean, the whole thing, I think, is a 10 inches tip to
10 1/4.
Yeah, 10 1/4. So I'm carrying that.
What kind of handle did you put on that?
I have a black G10.
Black G10? Because I'm telling you what, if you had gone out to knife-wood.com, did you know that Oleg has opened up a warehouse here in the United States of America in Philadelphia? We're at knife-wood.
Yeah, a couple hours from me, 2 hours from me.
We're at knife-wood.com. He can fill those orders and get them to your house almost instantly. Otisir makes some of the best stabilized wood blocks out there, and some of the most beautiful combinations of colors, natural colors, whatever.
Otisir?
What's that?
Did you say Otisir?
Oleg.
Oleg
Bashkevik.
Yeah. So Oleg, not Otisir. Otisir's out running around naked in the forest with his anus knife. But while you're out there, if you come up with some wood and send it to Oleg, I'm sure he can turn it into magical pieces. So hey guys, head out to knife-wood.com. All joking aside, this guy makes some of the most beautiful wood blocks together. I've got a few blocks in the mail coming to me right now, and happily paid for. I am not a paid endorser on that. I am buying his products because they are good. That's knife-wood.com.
He just released 200
blocks. Yeah, he just released 200 blocks. Yeah, go out and take a look. Yeah,
yep.
Where should we go see those?
Knife-wood.com.
He just put it on
Knife-wood.com
today.
Yeah, but what's his address?
Knife-wood.com.
There you go. Head to knife-wood.com.
There you go.
So, have you passed all the barbed wire now? You feeling good?
Yeah, feeling better.
I'm telling you what here. I am thinking that.
I have a
talk
thing
about something. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, he got some barbed wire too. Go
ahead. Okay, so. So with mine, I'm at a point right now to where, again, I've been filming YouTube videos for a really long time, and I've had people comment on a lot of different videos and a lot of different things like that, and I've talked about this before with the whole, you don't have to forge a knife in order to consider yourself a knife maker. That stock removal is just fine. I am going to further that just a little bit, and I'm going to tell people that if you see somebody hand filing a knife, like hand filing the bevels, hand filing the profile, doing all that stuff, they are doing more work than a lot of knife makers. So for the people who think that someone doing a knife by file because they're not using a 2x72 or they're not forging, and they say that they're less of a knife maker than someone who does stock removal or forging, those people are crazy.
Absolutely not.
And they've watched too much Forged in Fire.
Exactly.
So here you go. My response or my rebuttal to that is, You want a grinder, you want my grinder, you wanna use my forge. You wanna oh, you can't afford it, you can't afford it. Your parents are on the welfare, you can't afford it, they're on the welfare. Here, try my grinder. Psych, you on the welfare. You remember that? It was an old ice cream thing from an Eddie Murphy episode. But yes, anybody that's got the patience to sit with a file and do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it
they're
takes
Gandhi,
so
man.
much work, and I see people do this, and I see them make it, and they made their own file jig. They made all the stuff to do this, and they take the time to file these things out by hand, and then someone comes on there, some armchair warrior comes on there and is like, "You're not a knife maker. You didn't forge that thing. Where's your equipment?" And it's just like, dude, just go away. Because that person spent way more time than the average knife maker making that knife.
But I can tell you this. The world is full of people that are professional trolls. The world is full of people that are occasional trolls. The occasional trolls are the ones that are nice to you if they know you, nice to you if they see you, and have opinions, and there's no accountability on the internet, and that's the only reason people can say those things. And there's typically something missing in their own lives that brings some brightness or love or sunshine or whatever it is they're missing, that they lash out at other people. And unfortunately, some people are susceptible to that, and it'll make them feel bad. But for the most part, I don't know if it's a loss of testosterone at my age, but things like that just don't bother me anymore. Hey, David's over there laughing. He's in the military. I'm like, dude, I can still fight. And I can bite. I can fight dirty. I will bite your nose off in a fight, but I'll feel bad afterwards because I don't have the testosterone to really want to stomp you out. So you're right, Eric. You're right. Knife making has many different levels, and being the sole authority, because being a member of the Ukrainian and Belarusian knife makers, that was another job I had, and we basically classified different types of knife makers. And just so you know, file knives were actually a well thought of category, because nobody over in Belarus or Ukraine back in the day could afford the equipment to do it. We all did that with files.
Oh yeah,
files that we carved out of pine trees too. At that. So, just so you know,
pine tree files.
No, all joking aside, there's always going to be people out there with negative comments. There's going to be some people out there tonight that go, "That idiot drinks Florida Man. What an idiot!" I don't care. It's good to have a Florida man.
Yeah, always.
Yeah.
Speaking of Florida Man, what's David doing?
Well, that takes us to our next spot. So, hey, let's take a second, listen to our buddies over there at Pop's Knife Supply.
Yeah. Pop's Knife Supply was started 40 years ago and is owned by 4 professional knife makers. Andy Roy of Fiddleback Forge, Alan Searles of W.A. Searles Knives, Joey Berry of J.B. Knife Works, and Dirk Lutz of Dirk Lutz Knives. Make a great team of owners carrying on the traditions and business started by James Poplin. Over 4 decades in business is a testament to the best customer service with same-day shipping on weekdays. Pops only charges actual shipping, and any shipping differences are refunded on your orders. Everything you need to make knives, from grinding, steel, pin stock, heat treating, and more, can be found at Pops. Visit them at popsknife.supplies. And now, back to the show.
Hey, welcome back. I bet David pointing in his ear there means he can hear us now.
Absolutely. How you doing, gentlemen?
Hey, good. Another Florida man. Another Florida man.
Right.
Florida man.
David is with us as part of the Pop's Knife Supply Makers Mark. And I tell you what, guys, it just keeps getting better and better. Every time we have somebody on here, not that they're a better knife maker, I am exposed and develop a friendship. I will be. You'll be giving me your home phone number now, there, David, just so you know, because I do like to outsource a lot of things and get my name put on them. And all kidding aside, I'm being serious. No, go ahead and get your what is that order that keeps me within 50 yards of your house? Go ahead and do that. No, that's fine. I can go ahead and tell you. Don did it, and didn't have any problems. David, welcome to the show. How are you tonight?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Hey, and how long you been making knives?
I've been making knives since 2017. So what year is it? So about 5 years now.
Wow. Yeah, well, I would have thought you've been making them a lot longer because you've got some gorgeous blades.
Thank you.
Do you have a shop set up at home, or how are you doing this? Because I know you said you're in the military. Thank you for that.
Right. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm set up in my garage right now. At the moment, I've kind of got like a portable grinding table that I drag out to the driveway, and that's where I do all my grinding, so I don't get a bunch of metal dust in the garage and whatnot. That's what I was dealing with at my last place, where I started up in Massachusetts, and it was when we moved out, it was nasty. So I prefer not to ever have to clean that up again. So
Yeah, I know. I have to take everything out of my garage about once every 6 months and simple green the floor down and wash it out with a hose and get it out. So I definitely know exactly how you feel about that. So how did you find out about us over here at the Templars?
Well, actually, I found out about you guys from Mr. Don Watson. We started following each other on Instagram, and that's mostly where I keep in touch with the knife making community, as it were.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much where it's strongest on Instagram, maybe Facebook. But
what's your Instagram?
At Meek Custom Knives, MEEK Custom Knives. So, Mr. Watson and myself started following each other, and I start looking at his page, looking at his knives, like, oh, these are pretty. These are nice looking knives. And
thank you.
Lo and behold, I get a call from Don, and come to find out he's been making knives less time than I have. And I'm like, are you kidding me? This guy is incredible.
He is.
The man.
So let me ask you this: if Don, would you let him wear the Clint Eastwood wooden hat if he came over?
Oh yeah, I'll let him wear it.
He probably hasn't seen it, but Don, does he know that you've got a pool?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Have you got a bug screen around that pool?
No, I do not. We're from Florida. We don't need one here in Florida.
Hey, David, do you have a pool, David?
I got a bug screen around my pool. Y'all,
oh, you've already got a pool. Crap. Down, right? Oh well, Don, you can't hold that. You can't hold that over our head now. We'll vote him into being a knives.
Yeah,
we're going to vote him into being a knives Templar tonight. And your pool means nothing. And for us Yankees, I'm from Alabama. We can go hang out in his bug screen.
As long as I get one of those cool shirts, I'm down.
There you go.
That's for sure. Now, which shirt is that? Is that the Don the Train Watson shirt, or is that the what shirt?
Oh well, I was looking at the one Odyssey was wearing, but if there's a Don the Train Watson, I'm ready. Let's go.
Odyssey, you do have a pretty sweet shirt there. I like how you sport the Knives Templar podcast. Yeah, well, have you ever been to Blade Show?
I have not. I've actually only done one show, and that was pretty recently this past summer at the. It was a Florida Gun Shows. It was put on by a company called Florida Gun Shows, and they do a yearly tour around the state. And I did the Tampa one, and that was just sort of kind of I'd never done a show before, so it was kind of just to get my feet wet. Dip my toes in, as a word, and see what it was like, see what kind of interest I got, and I had a blast. I had a lot of fun.
What how'd your knives do?
I sold 3, and so I made about 22 blades of various models and sizes. So I kind of set myself an arbitrary goal, not knowing what I was getting into. I said I was going to, okay, let's see if I can sell 5. I want to sell 5. And, again, like I said, didn't know what I was getting into, didn't know the environment, didn't know what kind of interest I would get. So selling 3, I was happy with.
I would have been tickled with that.
So what style were the 3 that you sold?
So the first 2 that I sold was actually one guy who bought unfortunately, I don't have it with me right now. But I bought my Mama Dog model, which is my largest outdoor model. It's more of a camp knife, bushcraft style knife. We bought 2 of those, one in stainless and the other in Alabama Damascus. And
so you've got an even heat, or what are you using to heat your steel?
I'm using even heat now. I used to use a propane forge, which is I keep it just in case.
Yeah.
You know, but the even heat is so easy to use.
You're not forging your knives?
I'm not. No, I'm stock removal. Yes, sir.
And you call yourself a knife maker?
I know. I know. The gall.
The gall. How dare you with your stock removal?
The audacity.
I checked out your Instagram page yesterday and again today, and you would never think you've been making knives only 5 years. You've got an extra. It takes. I find that people with a good mechanical aptitude with a little artistic flair. It's amazing how that transposes into what they make, and I think what you do for your day job, I don't know your day job, but have an idea. It probably has you have to pay a lot of attention to detail and the fine things.
Absolutely.
You are you on a flight crew? Or a flight?
I'm not on a flight crew. I'm ground crew. So I'm in the Air Force. And I'm a jet engine mechanic for currently for the KC-135 Stratotanker. So that's a refueling aircraft down in MacDill Air Force Base. And it's an old jet. Does
the job.
Exactly. It gets the job done. It'll make a maintainer out of you.
Yeah. But attention to detail, I guess, is what I'm getting at, because all of that takes a lot. My dad is still stationed at Dover Air Force Base. He's 85 and doesn't realize he lives 5 miles from Dover Air Force Base, but he can still get into the commissary. So he's I enjoy going over there.
They have C5s there. I used to work C5s.
Yeah, they come over his house about every 5 minutes when it's busy.
Old Fred.
It's quite the noise. Quite the noise. So, how did you get started knife making? If I may ask?
Well, I was stationed in Turkey back in. I got there in 2015. I was there from 2015 to 2017, and about halfway through, things were getting kind of hairy. So I sent my wife home. I didn't feel terribly comfortable with her being there. So I sent her home. So it was just me and the dog, and we finished out our tour there. So I had a lot of time on my hands. I was playing a lot of golf, working out a lot. So sitting around one day, watching YouTube, and somehow the algorithm hands me a knife making video. I was like, okay, this is interesting. I'll watch it. And it was like a 15, 20-minute video. And before I knew it, I woke up from my blackout, and it was like 6 hours later, and I'd been watching 5-6 hours of knife making videos from
so it was ingrained in your mind while you were.
So I woke up cross-eyed and making notes on tools I need to get, and this, that, and the other. And I call the wife and I say, "Hey, babe, I think I'm going to get into knife making." And I heard this silence.
What about your other hobby? What are you going to do with all that? That's what I hear.
Yeah, she was like, okay, cool, all right, whatever. So once I got back to the States in early 2017, I started amassing because I wasn't terribly sure if I was going to commit to it. So I started buying the cheap versions of these tools. I bought a cheap 1x30.
That's how we started, my friend.
We all start there.
So I bought a cheap 1x30, a few files, this, that, and the other, and went to town and, made a couple of prison shanks. And
but if you ever do end up in Leavenworth, you've got a great side gig.
Absolutely, yeah. Hopefully, I won't have to make an anus knife, but. But either way, but yeah, so I would post them on Instagram, and then eventually an old childhood friend's younger brother hits me up on Instagram and says, "Hey, hunting season's coming up. Can you make me a knife? I'll pay you for it. I'll even pay you for it." I'm like, "Oh, shoot. Okay." So we talked for a while. I made him a knife, and bada bing, bada boom. The rest is history. And I kind of built on that model, and then improved it over the years, and until it became completely different than what it looks like now, which is fine. It just means you're improving. So
that's the best part, to be able to, I remember when I made my very first knife, and there was a knife maker that looked at it, and he was critiquing it, and I could just feel my soul slipping out of slipping out of my toes.
You feel the blood rushing to your head, and
Yeah, his name is Lane, and I actually sat and talked to him a few weeks back. I'm gonna have him on the show sometime. Great knife maker. But I told him, I said, I went back and looked at that knife 2 years later, and you were exactly right on everything you said.
Yeah.
It was, and you look at it now, it's like, it's a cool knife. It's my first knife, but it's like, I don't think I would have showed that to my mother and said, "Look what I made, Mom."
Yeah.
Because she loves everything, but she probably would have said, "That's not an ugly knife. That's an ugly knife."
As a matter of fact, a few years later, once I pretty much solidified the sort of basic hunting knife model that it turned into, I ended up making a really pretty one, and sent it to him, the guy that I just sent it to him. Didn't even tell him I was sending it to him. I was like, "Hey man, you bought the first knife I ever made, the first real knife I ever made, and I mean, let's be real, it wasn't as good as it is now. I feel like you deserve this, my first real customer." So I just sent that to him. He was definitely grateful for that. And so, yeah.
But it's important, if you've got a good knife maker's first series of knives, especially number one, that's quite a collector piece to have, especially, and we may never become big names in knife making or whatever, but just to have a good knife maker's very first knife or first series of knives is really cool. It's interesting you say that, because I have a guy in Norway that I sent my first knife to, and he loved it. Had a Scandinavian grind, and I didn't even know what a Scandinavian grind was. That's just as far as I wanted to go up, because I was. It looked kind of like a knife at that point, and but I'm actually preparing a knife for him that I'm going to send him for the very same reason. Even though I gifted the first one, I just want to thank him for getting me there, because he's the person that kicked me off. Right. So I can see that. That's really nice that you took that time to do that, because not all knives need to be sold.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree.
Yeah.
I know Eric Rivers is talking about that too. He maybe his is a little bit of jealousy or emotional connection. Don't want to get rid of that sax.
Yeah, no.
Every knife Eric makes, he goes into his wife and he goes, "I think I'm gonna look at this. I think I'm gonna keep this one." She just shakes her head and says, "All right." She puts it over there in the box with the other ones.
The hard part. The hard
Remember
part
Fred
for me,
Sanford? You guys are maybe. Don may be old enough. You off?
Do I have the weird lag going on right now?
No, it's okay. Go right ahead. I'll cut it out.
So, with me being a knife collector before I became a knife maker, that's the issue. I see every knife that I've ever wanted to make, and I end up making them, and then I go, "Damn! Now I gotta give this to somebody or sell it to somebody."
I gotta get rid of this. I put all this work into it, and I gotta get rid of it now. Are you kidding me?
Hey, Don, do you remember Fred Sanford's drawer of eyeglasses, reading glasses?
Oh yeah.
These other guys are too young to remember Fred Sanford, but I can imagine that Eric going over to that drawer behind his recliner and opening it up, and he's like picking through the knives that he's wanting to carry that day. pulls out a 5-foot long sack and says, "I think I'll just carry
this looks appropriate. I'll take this one."
Walking around with a straight leg all day because he's got it strapped down to his leg.
Yeah. I've got 10 EDCs.
You will have to tell us about that sack, Soleil. You got back
Batman
issues?
belt right there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, got the Batman belt going on.
That's what we ought to have. The Knives Templar Batman Throwing Star Challenge. You got to make a Batman shuriken. Is that what they call
So
it?
for David here, okay, I got three things. One is a question
Shoot.
there. Why the name Meek Custom Knives? Is there like a special meaning for that for that particular name? Two, I've been looking through your Instagram now. Congratulations, you make some beautiful
Thank
work.
He does.
And three, you're already making some anus knives, man. I've seen those. They'll work just fine.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, I have an assignment for you then. I want you to comment on which one you think is the anus knife.
Oh,
and
right away.
Is it the Mud Dog? Mud Dog too?
Well,
The
Mud Dog sounds
too.
an appropriate name. So.
The Mud Dog too. Yeah.
The mud dog.
That'd work.
I'm not renaming the mud dog.
So do we have a I don't know if I want to put that up as the show title or not, the anus knife with David.
Please,
David, pronounce your
please
last
don't
name.
put mine-
Pronounce
don't
your
put
last
my
name.
on that.
No, but pronounce your last. Go ahead. Halp.
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 Yeah, it's German,
Got
so
it,
you
got it.
you gotta hock a loogie and sound angry when you say it. You know.
I got that. You ought to hear the way we have to say Odysseer's name more authentic.
Yeah. Well, like eating nails and crapping barbed wire, right?
Yeah.
No, I will go through your page there.
No, right. Odysseer's name, if you pronounce it correctly, is Butthead.
So there's one.
So to answer your question, your first question, the reason I came up with that name, or at least where I got it, was I was having a tough time coming up with, what I was going to call what I was going to call it, what I was going to call these knives, and like we were just talking about, my last name is kind of funky, kind of hard to say sometimes, and so I didn't want to use that. A lot of guys use their last names, and I came across this random video, again, on YouTube. And we all know the scripture, the meek shall inherit the earth. Well, it gets a lot of, at least to me, a lot of times the word meek gets misinterpreted as weak. And the best translation that the coolest, at least, translation that I heard for the word meek was this. It was men who carry swords and know when to keep them sheathed. Mm-hmm. And that hit me like a ton of bricks, and I was like, that's it right there. And it just kind of stuck.
It's good. It's good.
Yep.
It is
real good.
I like that.
Yeah.
So
how did you come
up
with your
on 3 just now?
How did you come up with your knife name, Pinto?
Oh, I don't know. Somebody said, what you gonna put it in there? I said, okay, Pinto.
Handmade knives.
Yeah,
is that what we called it? Pinto's handmade knives?
That's it.
Yeah.
Pinto sauce.
The horse.
Nothing special about that.
So you found 3 knives that you think would make good anus knives?
Yeah, I see him commenting on
the patch code is this one. I mean, this would work. This one works. So you're gonna see there 3 comments there.
David, are you a hunter?
I'm
they
not.
Look narrow and a wee bit longer. That will work just fine.
Yeah, I'm not a hunter. So coming up with so it was a little odd coming up with hunting knives. I had to sort of design them and get with some buddies of mine that were hunters. And once I made them, I said, okay, here's a prototype. Take it, put it in the field, and tell me what's wrong with it. Like, great if you like it, you think it's pretty cool, but I want to know what's wrong with it.
Yeah.
So,
Now, did they have to give it back after they tried it?
They had to give it back.
Oh, good, because this was just not quite right. Make another one.
Yeah, no point taking a crappy knife for free, But
yeah.
But yeah, I had him give me notes and real feedback, and several iterations of each model came out of that. So until it was just right.
Yeah. I did something similar, but I got pulled into hunting now. So
yeah, I want to go hunting so bad. I've never been, and I do like guns. I don't have the budget for it, but I have, I have enough, I guess, right now. But or at least my wife would say I have enough. But
yeah, you don't know about weapons dealing?
I'm sorry.
You don't know anything about weapons dealing?
Like illegal arms dealing?
No. Like making a knife, selling it, buying a gun. Make a knife, sell, buy a gun. Make a knife, sell, buy a tree stand. That way your wife doesn't get involved as long.
I would absolutely get into that. If someone were to say, hey, give me that knife and I'll give you this rifle or this pistol, I'm down.
Yeah, I trade it for cash and then I do that. But I'll tell you what, it appeared to me, I went out and looked. It looks like you've got a domain name online. You've got it reserved.
I do. Yes, I literally maybe a week ago did that.
Good.
The website is under construction, so probably by the end of the year it'll be up and running. If not by first or second week of January, so it should be up soon.
Yeah. Who'd you register to? GoDaddy
with
or
GoDaddy?
Something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I used to be able to write HTML and develop my own websites, and with GoDaddy and their website builder using WordPress, you can make some beautiful websites these days. So all I'm really getting at is the fact that your knives, having the Instagram link also and a little bit of Facebook interactions, driving people back to your website. Man, you're going to be you're going to be buying a deer camp before you know it, because they are beautiful.
Thank you. I hope so. That'd be great. Yeah.
So, guys, what do you say?
Oh yeah.
No.
I say yes.
Somebody's got to make a motion.
I make a motion to make him a Knives Templar.
Anybody going to second it?
I second it.
Everybody in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Everybody, aye. All right, man. You're a Knives Templar.
Right.
David, with that comes, if you can get Otis here, what size do you wear?
For what?
No, I'm asking David, what size do you wear?
Shirt? Oh, yeah. Glad I you weren't asking about underwear. Jeez.
We're past the anus knife portion of the...
I'm a large.
All right, Otis here, what size is that your shirt you're wearing?
Large.
I need you to send that up to David.
Hand it over, Otis here.
But I will tell you this: we will be up at we're pseudo planning to be at Blade Show this year, and I hope that we all get to go back and enjoy that. Eric, you going to be there?
I'm going to be at all three this coming
Excellent.
year.
Otis, are you coming back to Blade Show?
I hope so.
All right, and I hope so. I will be there as well. And the folks of us that are going to be there will all be getting shirts so that we're walking around, and probably throw some of those little links on them so people can just scan our butts. I'm going to get you some hot pants, Don, and you can scan it and go right to our website.
Oh yeah.
But David, give us your Instagram one more time.
I'm at Meek Custom Knives, MEEK Custom Knives, and you can find me with the same handle on Facebook as well.
Are you also on the Rivers Experience?
I am. Yes,
the TRE workshop.
Good.
The TRE workshop. I am on
that. Just plugging that right there. Well, David, it has been such a blessing to have you on. Loved on the pre-show, learning a little bit about your family, and again, thank you for your service to our country. As you said, you've got 13 years in with the Air Force, right, and you've been around the world and done things. And there's too many people in the world these days that just take that for granted, and we see it every day on people posting on Instagram things that aren't really godly or family friendly or this, that, and the other, the influencers, so to speak. And they've got all of those freedoms, and it's all brought to us by people like you. So the sincerest of thanks. That's just not thrown out there randomly.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
And with that being said, David, we're going to catch you on the next show. We'll be chatting with you out on the Rivers Experience, and we would love to have you back on as a co-host.
Absolutely.
Sometime.
My father always said I had a face for radio, so I'd love to be back.
You've got a great voice for it as well. So, hey, listen, make sure that your phone says 100% uploaded when you before you hang up there, and we'll catch you on another episode.
Right on. Thanks a lot, gentlemen.
By the way, go ahead and get that that court order where I can't approach your
You
house or
got
anything
it.
within
It's
50
already in
yards.
the
'Cause have a blessed day, friend. We'll
All
catch
right,
you on
guys,
the next
thanks
show.
a lot.
Thank you, David.
Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Hey, guys. Well, let's just take a moment and let's hear from our buddies over at the best grinder that I own, Ameribraid.
Hey, listeners, let's take a moment today to thank one of our sponsors for today's show, and that sponsor is Ameribraid Grinders. Eric and Kevin over at Ameribraid have sold thousands of these grinders, and they are super nice guys, and their customer service is excellent. I would know. I've been personally using their 2x72 grinder now for 2 years, and it has changed my knife making to a whole new level. So if you're in the market for or looking to upgrade from that 1x30 or 2x42, then give Ameribraid a look. There you'll find they have 3 packages of grinders to offer. They have a Mastery package, a Foundations package, and a Get Grinding package, in which all of them come at different price points. So I'm sure you'll find something that'll suit your needs as a knife maker. Also, Ameribraid has a ton of innovative attachments for their grinders. So listeners, you can find out about all of this at www.ameribraid.com. Go give them a look, see what they have to offer today. And now, back to the show.
Well, guys, David's a good guy. We meet some really cool guys out there, don't we?
Real good guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he seems like a really nice guy.
It's a great community, man.
Yeah, it really is.
Really good.
You know, when I say it's a great community, I'd say most of it is. Every time once in a while I run into somebody that's somebody I don't really want to associate with, but for the most part, it's far and few between. Hey, you feeling better, Otis here? We've had some friendly talk. You all calmed down from that little rant a while ago about knives?
Oh, yeah.
You want some listener feedback? I got your name and some listener feedback. You're not going to get upset, are you? You're not going to get upset, are you? All right, we'll see.
I don't know. We'll see.
Comes from a guy named Gary. He says, guys, you are so fun. Always interesting stuff discussed. A great mix of info and moves around in topic to keep you interested. You guys make me laugh so hard. I love how you keep it real and not just go after the trends. Otis here cracks me up. You got specifically mentioned there, brother.
There you go.
Thank you very much.
I think he's just afraid of you and that anus knife. But, all right, enough about... And everybody, there's such a thing as an anus knife. It's used by deer hunters that feel they need one, but you really don't need one, but they do make one. Anyway, got one more here. I got in 2, and I was really glad because, like I said, we're starting to set some foundations in there that are really sticking. It says, always an interesting show. Look forward to the new show coming out every time. Wouldn't it be great to have a group of friends like this close by? I guess they don't realize that we're all like 15 hours from each other. But it's like we're close by. And I will tell you, and that's really a nice one. I'm going to segue into this because if you want friends that are close by, you can do that through the click of your phone. And some of us visit each other from time to time, but through the click of your phone, you can jump right into the Rivers experience, and you can connect with a whole world of knife makers. So, hey, let's listen to our buddy about the Rivers experience. Hey guys, what was your source of inspiration when you first decided to make knives? You know, many go to the books and also some go to the web, but many also head to YouTube for videos. Well, you know, we are fortunate enough to have Eric Rivers from the Rivers Experience as a co-host on the Knives Templars. But you know what? He's also a sponsor. And I tell you, 27,000 followers can't be wrong in following his skilled and educational regular videos that teach the fine arts of making beautiful knives. I know because I'm a subscriber to his channel and I learned at my pace and without making those mistakes by walking in the dark regarding knife making. Be sure and check out his channel, The Rivers Experience, on YouTube or his website at theriversexperience.com. And now back to our show. Yes, Eric, you put together quite a, you pulled me into this group when I was interested in knife making, and I found the Rivers Experience. Otis here stumbled in, Don did. You know, you've got well over 1,000 knife makers in there now and growing every day. I've seen that the Rivers Experience on Facebook is up to about 32,000 members. I apologize that the ad says 30,000 members or 29, whatever it says, but We'll have to record that once you hit 35,000. Re-recorded at 35,000. So, congratulations on your continued success, and not only success in numbers and people, the way you're touching people, your philanthropy, so to speak, but also the fact that you can continue to grow personally, and your success. And success comes in many forms. It's not always. I mean, say you knew Jake Paul's dad. I mean, that would be really cool, but I don't know Jake Paul's dad. So, but with all that being said, if you knew somebody like Jake Paul's dad, though, your heart still remains constant and down to earth. So, thank you for what you do over at the Rivers Experience. I have one other thing that I came across reading this week. How many of you guys send a penny with your knives in the mail? Or when you gift something? Otis here didn't give me a penny when he gave me his knife. Thank you for that gift. I still treasure it.
Haven't done that yet.
For reasons historians have not reached a consensus on, somewhere along the line, way back in the line hundreds, maybe thousands of years ago, people came to believe that giving a knife as a gift meant bad luck for a relationship. In other words, the knife would metaphorically cut ties with those two people and break their bonds. This effect is even worse if the recipient is your significant other. Some believe that love will soon end after a knife is given as a gift. As a knife is given as a gift, or that a knife as a wedding gift will sever the bonds of marriage. No one wants a gift like that. So they found a way around that, so we didn't break those bonds. Otis here, you want to hear? That's why long before rationality and science started replacing superstition, a tradition began in which those who gift a knife also attach a coin to the blade or include it with the gift. Even a penny will do. The receiver of the knife then gives the penny to the gift giver, thus paying them for the knife and keeping the relationship intact. May sound weird, but that's because it is. But so is throwing salt over your shoulder, not walking under ladders, and expecting 7 years of bad luck when you break a mirror. That's cool. I'm going to start sending a penny with all my knives. I'll stick one in every package.
Yeah, that'll work. Shiny, too.
I'll scrape one off the bottom of a used car that I used to work on.
Oh, really?
Plenty of them in there.
See, I always put I always when I take my car in to get worked on, I always put what do you call it? That tape the police use so that you can't open evidence packets. I put evidence tape. Keep people out of my pennies.
There you go.
Now, talking about that, may I divert
always
the conversation a little bit? Okay. So once upon a time, I was inspecting a car, and I don't know the back story of that car, but the back seat had blood and what looks like I want to say brain matter all over the place.
Sounds like it was in a
back
Quentin
seat.
Tarantino movie.
Yeah, it looked exactly like that. I was kind of creeped out a little bit, but a job is a job, and I, went through, check everything, failed the car, of course, and I think that was the most horrifying and disgusting thing I ever found in a car. As I am,
maybe they had just collected a deer on the side of the road.
A lot of blood and
maybe they had just
brain
collected
matter.
a deer on the side of the road.
Maybe it is a possibility. Here in Maryland, everything is possible.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Going back to
where
knives,
were we with knives? Well, I will tell you. Would you like to field some questions? You seem like the kind of guy that can field some questions. You.
Who?
Yes, you.
Me?
Otis here. But I want to tell you something.
What's the question?
I want to tell you a little story real quick. Getting into this business of selling knives, I've had to be real careful. I had this friend one time. It's story time with Chip. And when I lived up in Michigan, he was a duck hunter. And in the winter months, they go out there and they lay down in these bay boats. And when they lay down in them, the ducks can't see them. They're kind of covered. When the ducks come in, they can set up in them real quick and start shooting the ducks out on St. Clair Bay. Well, my friend Scott had come up with a kayak that had a oil heater in it. You could just add oil to it, and it would sit and heat that kayak because you couldn't have gas, and it would just heat the inside of it. So sitting out on the water, you stayed warm while you were duck hunting. And unfortunately, you talk about selling knives, the things that can go wrong. A series of these started catching fire out on the water, and these people are out several hundred yards out into freezing waters, and these boats are catching fire. And people got hurt. Ultimately, he got sued and ended up getting arrested, and had to go to court on it. And it was a lengthy trial. And as he went through it, we knew it wasn't, so he took a plea, and was hoping to get less fines, less time. And I remember going because he was a good buddy of mine. Still is. I've stuck with him, but I remember the judge said to him right before he sentenced him, he said, Mr. Scott, I've got something to tell you before I give you the sentencing. And he said, what's that, sir? We were all somber, and he says, you just need to know you can't have your kayak and heat it too.
Gosh. Oh man.
We all started laughing, and he got 25 years for laughing at the judge. So anyway, questions. We're on to questions. Dave says, I bought some dyed camel. What are y'all laughing about? Dave said, that was serious. Dave said, I bought some dyed camel bone the other day for a couple knives I'm working on. They are blackish and really dark brown. After I got them glued up and started grinding them, almost all of the color is gone, and they are now splotchy brown and mostly white. My question is there a way I can dye them back to some extent with them attached? Can I soak it in leather or wood dye while it's attached? You've got a quandary there. He's got some funky looking scales now that dye didn't get down into the bone.
Yeah, if it was a superficial diamond, it will rub off really quick. I used some leather dye on some antler, and it kind of stained enough to look nice and brownish. But I don't know about bone. I think it would work on bone as well, but it's not going to be as good as, say, a vacuum stabilizing and dyeing. I would leave it alone unless you really wanted to try something. You could try, but there's no guarantees. The pieces of bones that I have that I bought it at Blade Show, that I made that chef's knife. It's giraffe bone, and the dyeing is all the way through. So I guess it was done right.
Yeah, I would say there are probably some things that came off of an Amazon site or something like that. Somebody just stuck it in.
Yeah, probably some cheap dyeing just on the surface.
Yeah,
that's a problem. I mean, you could try leather dye. I would use leather dye before anything. And I also know that if you grab like a small torch, you can sort of singe the surface of it, right? But you might crack it also because of the heat, so you need to be careful.
Yeah, you have to be careful. Yeah, you have to get just surface.
You're going to have to do some experimentation.
because you don't want to get in and heat the epoxy or anything up.
Exactly.
I would do that before mounting, but I guess it's already
he's
mounted.
Saying they're already
glued
already up.
Grinding. Yeah. I would try just a leather dye.
Yeah, and soak it for about 2 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, let it sit there.
Yeah.
Now, I also thought, with the leather dye, you don't have to worry about any rust or anything because I believe that's all solvent in there, if I'm not mistaken. Is that what you think, Eric? Is that right? Leather dye is probably all solvent?
Yeah, that's right. It's pretty much all solvent.
Yeah, so I would say, and even if you hit it with a wool dauber, it's that stuff sticks to everything. I go to shake people's hands, and I got brown fingers, and they're like, "Let's shake your hand." You look like you've been using one of them knives that Otis here makes. But I'm serious. I mean, that put a terrible looking brown on your fingers. But I would say just hit it with leather dye once you finish sanding it, and then just go over it lightly with some 1000 grit or something, just to knock down the edge if anything rises up on it, just from the moisture of the solvent. And then go through and seal it after that with some type of sealer. I wouldn't use wax. I would probably use some type of oil-based sealer or something. Yeah,
Shellac.
possibly. Yeah.
What's the stuff that I've used it? And I'm trying to remember what it is, but they put it on gun
Gluing?
stocks. No, the
Oh,
gun
the
stocks.
stock. I'm sorry, you're
Finish
not
for the
thinking
gun
about-
stock. Yeah, the gun stock. I think birchwood casing
Yeah, they
or
make-
something like
yeah.
that.
There's some sort of a sealant. I have some shellac in the shop.
Yeah.
About the same
And
thing.
I like the idea. Sometimes you just kind of go with it, you know. If all the black comes off and ends up some spots here or there, that's just the way that knife looks. I don't know. Just depends on what it looks like when you're done. You know, it looks like if all of a sudden your knife, if you're not happy with it. And you know what else you can do? Grind those suckers back off and get you some decent handle material. I've ground handles off before.
Yeah, you can do that.
I mean, before doing anything, finish the best you can. Do the buffing, the polishing, and everything. Let it sit for a couple of days in a drawer somewhere. Don't obsess it. I noticed that when I do obsess with something, and I'm working on it, and I just can't get it right when I want it, so I'm more liable to ruin it.
Yep.
So I just, I learned to just put it aside for a couple of days, then I'll pick it up again with the, fresh rested eyes and
fresh look.
So
a clear
I've got an
perspective.
opinion on that too. When it comes to stuff like that, where you have situations where this might sound kind of hippie-ish of me or whatever, but I feel like that knife was meant to have that particular handle. If that's the way it ground out and that's what you chose, and I say go with it. Feel free to make a second knife that has other handle scales on it that are black, but some people are going to like that cool differentiation in color. And
yes,
I would just leave it, and I would make another knife with a different set of handle scales. I've never been a big fan of knocking handle scales off of knives. I just make another knife.
Eric says, all right.
And go that route.
Eric says, all right. It'd be really cool if you did. So
yeah, that too. I mean, I have a couple of blades where I wasn't completely happy with the fit and finish and the way the final grind came out on the handle. Remember the knife I brought to a blade show with the giraffe bone handle, the gray handle. So when I mounted that, the exterior had a lot of cracking, a lot of veins going through, really beautiful coloration. I made the mistake of gluing it before I start grinding it, and as I ground to the final size and shape, I lost a lot of that beautiful surface. Still looks good, but not as good as it was when I first got that piece
that's
of
the way I
bone.
feel whenever I do antler. I
I-
always try sometimes I've lost everything that I wanted to keep on it, but you can find, like you said, you can find beauty underneath there if you just keep going. Kind of goes back to what Eric was saying.
It still came out all right, but I wish I had thought about, okay, I want to keep this outside the way it is, and I would have grounded on the inside first, brought it to close to the dimension that I wanted, and then glue it in and finish my grindings after. Lesson learned. On the second one that I did with the bone, avoided that mistake, came out perfect. So a couple little tricks. I mean, that I picked up, on a bone handle. Try to grind the inside first. The inside first, always.
I agree.
Then you can just.
So we'll hopefully it turns out well for him.
Yeah. I mean, it probably will. Like I said, I mean, when you obsess it, just put it on the side for a couple of days. Stick it in a drawer, leave it alone. Come back later, pick it up. You're probably going to like what you see. It's just at the moment you're expecting something to look one particular way, and it's not what you first picture in your head. So, but
Hey, Aaron says, does anyone use a kiln to normalize or refine grain? If so, how do you set up the program? I'm not sure how effective it would be with the amount of time it takes to cool down. I don't have a kiln.
I don't have a kiln either.
It's the same process as a heat treat oven. I mean, the deal is you're normalizing and grain refinement. It's pretty much the same exact thing. Just depends on how you're wording it or whatever.
Yeah.
But easily you can use it. All you're gonna do is you're not focused so much on the kiln cooling down as you are the blade cooling down. So what I always suggest if you're going to do that is, and you're going to do it in an oven, is you take it out and then put it down. Make sure you don't have fans blowing or don't put it in a windy area, and let the blade cool down, and then ramp it back up. You don't have to wait for the kiln to cool all the way down. You're going to pull the knife out, let it cool down outside of it, and then put it back in there. Well, the kiln's still warm. And it works out perfect because you're ramping down the temps as you're going through and doing it. So, yeah.
I think it would too. I think it would too. And if all you've got is like a washing machine size kiln, pottery kiln, I mean, that may be a little overkill for a single blade, but I would probably look for a different piece of equipment just because you're using so much energy and heating so much up and the cool down time and everything. But sometimes you use what you got and can go with it. So, got another one for you here, guys. This one's, read it, it's right up Eric's. I think this is a question for Eric. I have made about 10 knives so far, and about 5 of them are mirror finished. Currently, I'm using my Harbor Freight grinder to get them to a 120 finish. So he's using probably Harbor Freight blades because I think they've got up to 120 in their store.
Yeah.
And then using sequential sandpaper up to about 1,200. So they go 220, 320, 400, 600, 800, 1,000, 1,200. Then I polish the blade on a buffer on my drill press. That's what's made me think of you, Eric. And I know you've got buffers. You just haven't broke them out in that new shop of yours yet. I was wondering, is there a faster way to a mirror? I don't have enough for a really good grinder. Plus, I'm not that good on it and usually mess up some bevels somehow. I don't know. Any ideas on a faster mirror? And I did actually watch a video today of a guy that was producing mirror finishes with his Ameribraid grinder, and he was taking them up to about 5,000 grit and was getting beautiful mirror finishes. And that was fine. It was interesting. His knife shop was, you may have seen his video before, his knife shop is in an office, like a business office, an accounting office, and his grinder's sitting on a carpet floor. He's probably in his 80s, but or 70s or 80s. But I thought, well, how do you get all that dust out? But
it's sitting on a table.
Yeah. You seen that video?
Yeah. He does.
Oh yeah, they're gorgeous
knives though, and he does a lot of folders and everything like that too. Okay, so here's the deal. It just depends on how much you want to invest into your 1x30. If you want to make your life a lot easier, make a full-length platen for your 1x30. They're not complicated to make. You can make them out of mild steel. You can make it out of pretty much anything. And all you need is a 1-inch wide by 1/8 inch thick piece of iron, and go ahead and form yourself a full-length platen. Make 2 of them. Make one that is just a full-length platen, and then make one that is a platen with either a Scotch-Brite pad glued to it or a piece of leather glued to it, and save yourself a lot of hassle. So make those 2 pieces. They are very cheap to make, very easy to make. There's a lot of people who make videos on what I'm talking about with the leather.
Does that take away the belt chatter?
And it takes away the belt chatter, and it also is more forgiving when you come up to you're going through the grits and everything like that, especially on grits like 400, 500, things like that. So it starts smoothing things out and less focus on sharp lines. It starts making things nice and smooth and kind of rounds it just a little bit. But the whole point is you need to go to either, Phoenix abrasives, combat abrasives.
Pops.
They make 1x30 belts.
Yeah.
Pops. Anybody who carries those 1x30 belts in the higher grits. And then I use a company called Pro Sharpening Supply. And they are the ones that supply my 800, 1000, 1200, 1500, 2000 that I use for sharpening. But you can also use those for finishes as well. But you just need to do a little bit of research for your belts. You can get belts all the way up into the super high grits. But the biggest thing that's going to be a game changer for you on a 1x30 is a full-length platen. And a platen that has a leather backer on it is going to be the biggest game changer for your finish.
Good advice. I didn't even think of that. I was going to say, well, you just got to do the handwork. But as long as you can handle those set speeds that you've got on those 1x30s and just learn to be gentle with it, especially as you get down thinner, that you don't burn the tips or anything, I think you'd be just fine. So.
Yeah, because they'll overheat really quick.
Well, and on belts like that, you're not supposed to put pressure in. I was just going to say, on the higher grit belts, you're letting the belt do its job. You're not supposed to be forcing anything into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even then, 1 second lapse of concentration, and you kept that blade on one spot for too long. And a blue spot.
You didn't get the marble
blade,
grasshopper.
So.
You messed up. Yeah. Hey, Otis, you know what Cole has to ask you today? He may be asking me this too. He says, let's start by saying that my 2x42 is about 8 years old. I've made enough knives on it to know I need a 2x72 if I'm going to get serious about making knives. My question is the difference night and day? Shaping a blade isn't the issue. The struggle is the plunge lines and the bevel. It's so difficult to do it cleanly. What significant difference can I expect once biting the bullet and biting a 2x72? I can answer this, but go ahead, Otis here. No, I'm going to say I just went from a 2x42 to a 2x72 this past spring, and variable speed drives are important. The vast selection of belts, the width of the belt, of course, it's already 2x42, but the variable speed has a lot to do with it because I can extend that belt over the edge of the platen as far as I want on either side and line that knife up to whatever speed I'm running at slow and just slowly take that bevel in, and I'm creating beautiful bevels. Took a little bit of getting used to. You guys probably saw me doing some full grinds from cutting edge up to the spine because my bevels got away from me. And sometimes, like Eric said about the handles, that's just the way that knife was supposed to turn out. And they turned out, you guys were complimenting them. I was like, I meant to do that, but I didn't.
Design. We call that a design opportunity.
Yes, it was. Life's little mistakes sometimes turn into some of the most beautiful things. Yeah.
It turned out good, man.
But I will say that I learned that on the 2x72, it gave me more control, more tools. The biggest thing is you're not running wide open. And the things that you can take with you from the 2x42, you learn the light touch. Because if you don't use a light touch, all of a sudden you've destroyed a blade because you got into it too deep on just about anything 400 and less on grit. But but since you can take that light touch to you, you'll find out that when you're shaping that steel, you're going to make your mistakes. But you develop an understanding between your mind, your hands, that steel, and the belt that allows you to control where things are going and where things are pulling away, where I went from somebody that wouldn't think about not using a jig on that 2x42, and probably 2/3 of the knives I'm making right now, or maybe even higher than that, I'm just hand grinding and learning to do it. So 2x72 is a big step up in the learning curve and your bevels and grinding angles will come much easier. Go ahead, Don.
I think another thing, when you step from a 2x42 and step to a good 272, is that the tracking system runs better.
Yeah.
The belt tracking, that's a real good key.
Yeah, those 2x42s are for, the shop down at the plant kind of thing. They're for, grinding on lawnmower blades or rounding off a bolt or just whatever you're trying to do. I'm not taking away. There's a lot of beautiful knives made by 2x42s and 1x30s. It's just like going out and buying, say a set of golf clubs at Walmart for $130, or you go out and buy a $5,000 set of golf clubs and go swing them. If you've ever swung a golf club, and I don't do that anymore, but when I did, there's a big difference in the quality of what you buy and buying something that's specialized for what you're doing. So there's a place for 2x42s. I've still got mine set up in my shop, and I use it on many things still. Belts are cheaper, and I can set and knock edges off and do all kinds of things.
I think another thing too, Chip, is buying good belts too.
Yes.
Good quality belts is another
That's
plus.
a huge key.
I'm making
Big
that tuna cleaver right now, the El Katuna, or the Big Katuna, excuse me, and it's 1/4-inch steel. And I think you guys heard me whining about that, about burnt my hand grinder up, and then I took it to my bandsaw and rounded off the blades on it on that 8670. It might have just been the 8670 or whatever, but I decided, well, heck, I took the other grinder back to it, the hand grinder back to it, and ground it down as close as I could, and then just took a shredder belt and ground it all to shape. And I would have never been able to do that on a 2x42. I would have shut that sucker down in a heartbeat. So, having the right belts, even the right belts on a 2x42, the motor's 3/4 horsepower or whatever, and being able to crank that 2x72 up was a big difference. But having ceramic belts that I got from Pops, it's the only place I'm getting my belts these days, shredders, and then all the way up to the lightest refinements just make all the difference in the world. So, yeah, good advice.
Yep.
Got time for one more, guys?
Sure.
Rod. Yeah, Rod, he says, I built my grinder. I'm waiting on some glass for my platen. I have a standard flat platen, a small wheel attachment, 5 sizes, from 1/2 to 1 inch on the way. I will eventually set a large contact wheel, not sure what size yet. My question is, what are each of the attachments mostly used for? Large wheel for hollow grinds, small wheels for finger grooves and serrations. What attachments do people mostly use for profiling? Flat or large wheel? First thing I want to say is don't get the glass platen. I don't see any need for them. I talked to the guys over at Mayor Braden about that, and they were like, no, you don't need that. You got hardened steel plate. Invest your money in extra plates that you'll install once every 1.5 or 2 years after you flipped one over and this, that, and the other. But aside from that, you guys want to talk about your attachments that you think are important?
Yeah, I'd like to say something. I have a mirror braid with all the attachments. You're probably going to use the 1 inch or the 3/4 inch small wheel more than anything. My platen comes with a 2 inch and then a 6 inch wheel, and I use it a lot. But when you are going to profile your steel, I used to use my platen, and I found that if you will go to a wheel attachment or a contact wheel, big as you can. I got a 12-inch wheel, and I do all my profiling with that because it'll do 2 things. It won't wear your platen out because your platen will get grooves in it, and it will create heat on your belt and on your steel. So I went straight to a 12-inch wheel to grind it out to the lines. But it will wear your platen out, whether it's hardened or not. Over time, it'll put grooves in it. I had to go in there and take my surface grinder and clean it off. Got it back flat again. So, but yeah, I would definitely, if you're going to profile, you need at least a 3/4 inch small wheel. And if you can get a 6-inch or 8-inch or 10-inch wheel, I would use that to do all your hardcore profiling. So,
good
advice. Hope that helps.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I've been
100%.
I've been using my OBM with the flat platen now for the longest time. Just the flat platen, nothing more.
Do you get your convex grinds just off of slack belting or something then?
That is
it's cool. It's cool. Cool.
Yeah, and
must have something to do with pinto sauce.
I got those small wheel attachments and a 10-inch hollow grind wheel. But I would say 99% of what I do is on my flat platen. I use my hollow wheel very seldom, and I use very seldom. I know there's not correct English for it's just seldom, but I add the very because I very seldom use it.
That's the correct English, yes.
And then I use my small wheel attachments mostly for my guard making. When I'm profiling my guards on, especially that section that goes against the finger.
Yeah, your finger choil.
That's it. Other than that, I mean, flat platen all the way. I mean, I don't use a whole lot of different things. One thing that I am gonna buy, and I really want, and I can see me using a lot, is that we saw it together on Blade Show. Chip, Eric, and I, the integral table.
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys remember that attachment. Yep.
Oh, yeah, yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I really want that thing. I can see me
Who
using
had that? Was that Broadbeck or? Yeah. Nice piece of
Broadbeck.
equipment.
Yeah, Ameribraid's got one now.
Yep. Oh yeah. Well, the difference between Ameribraid and
inches.
Broadbeck to me would be
you got the 1 inch.
Broadbeck uses 1.5-inch tooling arms, whereas the other guy.
I think they can. I think they can make it work for you though. I believe they can.
I tried, and they say, well, we can
Okay.
set it just the attachment, and you can fiddle around with the arm. And I'm really not into.
Yeah.
Well,
Broadbeck makes good equipment.
messing
But
with
hey,
it.
let's take this opportunity to talk about another piece of great equipment, and that's before we go into our next series, which is going to be forging with Eric Rivers. Let's talk a little bit about Majestic Forges. Be right back.
Majestic Forge is owned and operated by Brian and Kayla Horn in Rushville, Ohio. With many years of experience manufacturing 2 to 5 burner gas forges, Majestic Forge is your #1 source for blacksmith forges, farrier forges, and specialty forges. They are dedicated to creating top-of-the-line forges at a price you can afford. Majestic Forge has supplied forges to blacksmith schools, high schools, colleges, production shops, and TV shows such as Mythbusters. And Majestic Forge is the forge of choice for televisions forged in fire. Knife makers are in luck as they offer forges that come with 2 or 3 deluxe burners. Here at Knives Templars, we are sure that you can find a USA-made Majestic Forge to suit your needs. Check out your next forge at majesticforge.com.
Hey, welcome back. So, there's a series of attachments that you can use. I would just say I concur with what Don said on all the attachments. Mostly use those same ones that he does. The one thing I will add to that is I bought the Ameribraid knife sharpener, and it's changed my life when it comes to sharpening blades. There's many ways to make sharp knives, and I actually brought out my Lansky this past week and did that little niblet knife with that because it was so small and didn't take that long to do. But Lansky, the Ameribraid sharpening arms and everything they've got are perfect add-on. And of course, Don, I know you built your own, so if yours is working great like it is, I'd stick with that as well. You're pretty good. Hey, forging. just talked about Majestic Forge. They make some great forges. I love mine to death. But I will also say you don't necessarily have to buy one, because Eric Rivers is building a forge right now that's just as gorgeous as I've ever seen. But Eric, why don't you lead us a little bit off, because you've got a forging series going on right now, don't you?
I do. So, for one, yeah, I just finished another forge. Whenever you focus so much on forging for weeks in a row, you realize that your single burner is not sufficient for every single type of knife. Because I've forged small knives, I've forged chef's knives, I've forged basically a sword, which was the last thing. And I'll tell you, trying to do everything that I needed to do with this sword, if I'm working on something that has like a 10-inch blade on it, that is probably about the limit on a single burner forge. To be able to have a good constant heat, especially if you're going to heat treat it and do things like that without having to go really far in and out of the forge. I realized, it was not gonna cut it with that one burner. So going to a 2-burner, I won't see that I'll ever need anything bigger than that. Even a lot of people who have 3-burner forges only run 1 to 2 burners on them. Hardly anybody runs all 3 burners unless they're making nothing but swords. So I decided it was time to do that. So I went ahead and built the new forge to be able to do a few more of the builds that I have going on. But the whole goal behind the forge series was, again, to round out my knife making skills. I can grind pretty much any type of thing on my 2x72. I'm very confident with being able to do that, and my ability to freehand grind and do all those things. But the issue that I had was, I've seen a lot of these makers, and we actually, all of us were at Blade Show in Atlanta, and there was a knife maker that was set up right next to Dennis Tyrell, and he did these forged to finish knives. He's done a few different builds with Jason Knight and whatnot, and he goes by S. Lopez on if you look that up on Instagram, you'll see his stuff. But he made this like crazy kukri that had a like crow's head with this like Damascus beak and everything on it. But he had hand forged in the fullers and did a full forge to finish, bevels, everything. The whole entire blade was completely forged to finish, and it looked so smooth and so clean that I thought, man, I kind of want to start this. And one of my favorite makers out of all the makers is Neil Kamamura, and he does a lot of whenever he first set out to start making knives. If you ever watch his story, for one, that guy went through tons of ups and downs in his life, but he decided he was going to start making knives. And what he did was he just forged knife after knife after knife after knife after knife over and over again. And, you hear that story and you think, that is going to be a way to develop skills. But it doesn't just do that. It actually gives you a really strong connection with knives too. There is something about being able to grind out a knife and the satisfaction from that. But the moment that you can take a piece of steel and use nothing but an anvil and a hammer and make it look like a knife, like a finished knife, whenever you're done with it, is crazy. Because that's what they used to do back in the days. 400 years ago, they didn't have 2x72s. They barely had sandpaper. You know what I mean? They had like stones and things like that, but mostly stones. And the ability to tap into that part of your knife making and get the forging ability down was just huge for me. I wanted to step up my knife making, and at this point, I've probably made probably about 140, 150 knives, and a lot of those were stock removal of some sort, and I just wanted to move myself to the next step, which is being able to, fine tune my forging and utilize that ability and utilize that skill. And so what I did was, just like if you're going to do knife making and you want to get into it, it's all repetition. It's all muscle memory. Once you get done grinding knives for, let's just say a few months, you figure out where your elbows are going to be. You figure out what to do with your hands. You figure out how to counteract chattering with the belts. You figure out, you know what it's going to do because you've done it so constant and so consistently that your body just naturally starts doing it. And the sword that I just finished, that worked out. It's I kind of stepped myself up. I started with a knife that I thought was going to be a little complicated. It was a little Bowie. Did the whole forge to finish on that. Then did a drop point camp knife and kind of worked my way up within the forging. What you can watch plenty of videos and they'll show you, when you want to do your preforms, you want to know, okay, I'm going to do my preform. And then whenever I start forging in my bevels, it's going to bring my tip up, and how to kind of drop the heel of the blade down. So the heel, what's going to be right in front of your where your hand's going to be on your, basically right near your Ricasso. But knowing how to forge that down, what side of your hammer to use if you're using a rounding hammer and all that, where you're going to start forging to pull the blade down or to move the blade forward. A lot of those, you have to do it. You have to practice with it. You have to take a hammer, hit the steel, let it bend, and then try and correct that.
So you can get back from making a metal banana.
Yes, so you can unbanana your banana, The whole point is, going through and pushing myself to do it every week, and I do a knife a week, at least, and I at least film a knife a week, and it is letting everyone kind of grow with me within the experience, because typically whenever you have people that put out videos, I put out an insane amount of videos compared to a lot of knife makers on YouTube. A lot of knife makers will put 1 to 2 videos out a month, and some of them have more commentary, or they will kind of tell you what they're doing, but they're really skipping between the steps. And what I'm doing is I'm putting at the beginning of the video the entire forging process. Now, it is time-lapsed, but that is the piece of steel that I started with to the piece of steel that I finished with the forging process. And I want people to be able to go from video 1 to the last video I do in this series and be able to kind of work themselves in through the knowledge.
Right.
You're learning the essentials of putting a bevel into a knife, dropping the heel down, where you're going to use a rounding, where you're going to use or flatten, where you're going to use those different things to move the steel where it needs to go. And then how to correct screw-ups because you hit the thing the wrong way, all those different types of things. And then talk about at the end of the video what my takeaway is for that particular build. And then as I go through the series, what did I use from the previous video to impact that particular video, and so on and so on and so on. And the sword that I just did was a pure example of that. If I hadn't done the chef's knife, where I had to correct the banana. The sword would have been a nightmare because you have to know how to forge in bevels and then leave a thickness or leave a section on the spine to where you can forge it and down to be able to drop your tip down, or what do you need to do to be able to unbanana your banana if you weren't trying to make a banana knife, and the whole point is, again, just starting with more simple stuff and then work your way up. And this weekend I'll be making a blacksmith's knife, and I'm going to do everything in my power to not use a power tool.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm looking forward to that.
Forge everything.
You need to make some blacksmith shop doors.
I know, right? I'm going to be doing that here soon. It's been so cold, and it's just been nice not having the wind blow into my shop, because that doorway is like 8 feet wide, and I've had it covered for a little bit now, but it's those doors are going to happen because I need the doors up in order for me to go ahead and start putting the wall panels up, so that it actually becomes a finished shop.
Yeah, but you got those walls up, and all of a sudden it was like shop, and you went shop crazy. So it had everything had to shut down. Of course, you had to get back to some knife making, but it was just nice having that space, wasn't it?
Yep.
You have a real forging shop now, I should say.
Yes, and I can have my anvils spread out and do everything like that, and it's nice being able to take your steel out of the forge and be able to move like 6 feet and then start forging, and you're not forging right in the middle of the anvil or right in the middle of the heat. It's nice right now though, because my shop, it was 35 degrees outside and my shop was like 85.
That is nice.
So it was,
that is nice.
It felt great.
Otis here.
But yeah, again, the whole point behind like what I want people to have takeaways when it comes to the whole forging series is, again, every single time I tell people this, it's all about repetition, and you got to force yourself to actually do the task. You got to force yourself to swing the hammer. You got to force yourself to learn from the process. We don't just become knife makers overnight. We start with the shanks, and we work our way up from the shank to start making pretty knives. And it's all repetition and being able to get yourself into the motion and start doing the action and start doing the thing. You know what Jason Knight says, be a maker. You gotta do it. If you don't do it and you just watch videos on it, you'll never fully comprehend what it actually takes to do it.
Yeah, mine have worked up from shanks, and now I'm up to the stanks, so hopefully it'll eventually get together where it's a decent knife. Otis here, how's your forging journey taking you?
Okay, a couple of things. First thing I want to say is that I have discovered the cure for insomnia. Yeah. Stick a piece of steel in your forge, beat it for 3 or 4 hours nonstop. You're gonna sleep like a baby. My wife said I was snoring so loud it sounded like a busted muffler on an old truck. Okay, I'm gonna tell you, man, that thing wore me out. But here's the deal, right? I was able to take a piece of an old chisel that I found on the shop. It was a hexagon, about an inch around. I cut off about a 3-inch piece out of it. And I said, just like Eric said, okay, start with something simple. And I went, okay, let me see what I can do with this thing. And I stretched it out to 9 inches and 1 3/4 inches wide. Right, I made a nice flat out of it. I was able to cut a knife out of it. I still consider this forging, so I forged it out, right, out of a chisel. I cut a knife out of it. I ground it out. But I've learned that I made some mistakes there. One, I don't think I had my steel hot enough, right? I think I was forging a bit below the temperature. So, and ended up after the knife was all said and done, I broke the knife. So I'm not gonna post pictures of that thing. I broke it. I don't know if my grain structure was too coarse because of my lower
Did you normalize
forging
it?
temperatures. Oh, I did. I did. Also, I should have tempered for longer, right? I only did one temper cycle. I said, let me try it and see what I can do with it. And, I snapped it. But lesson learned. Lesson learned. So next time I will do the same process with the same steel. Start over. I'm probably gonna cut a 4-inch piece of that chisel instead of three. Gives me a bit more leeway and leave it a thicker piece of steel. I ended up after I cleaned up all the forging and scales and everything, and I don't have a surface grinder, but I was able to bring it to fairly even thickness. I think I had left about 4 millimeters, which is pretty good. Piece of steel, but it's not my preferred. I like around 6 mils. Gives me a lot more defined plunge lines. But still, like I said, I was able to make a knife. I finished it. It looks good. I had my plunge lines. I had my ricasso. I had my shoulders done for the tang and the guard. But mistakes were made, and I paid with a broken knife. So, that's
I
where I
have some.
stand right now.
I was going to say I have some scrap 8670 that you can beat on.
You got a
Quarter
lot
inch
of scrap
thick.
8670. Like,
I'm gonna send
like
you.
a
I'm
football
gonna send
field
you
of
a
it.
piece
Yeah.
about like this, just so you can beat on it and tell me how nice it was to beat on a piece of finished
Yeah.
steel.
So the thing with forging, right? Like I was saying the last time we talked about it, I really don't want to take a nice perfect steel and beat on it. I want to take something that is off shape. I even made a small I even made a small kiridashi. I even made a small kiridashi out of a ball joint just to see if I could do it. I have it. It's in the shop. I took a ball joint out of a car that coincidentally I failed inspection. And I took the ball joint. The ball joint is
It failed because it actually
3/4 of an
failed.
inch
Let's
ball.
get that.
Yeah, it failed because it was missing.
Yeah.
Did you know you've got a missing ball
And
joint?
I beat a knife out of that little ball joint, right? A small kiridashi. I have it. I'll keep that one in a corner somewhere. Will not be seen in public.
Well,
It looks
I've got
like-
something for you, Otis. Here, the next time you forge that chisel, I'm assuming it was like an air chisel or a chisel that you would use on a machinery.
I have no idea. It's old and rusted.
Yeah.
And it hardened up really good on pinto sauce. It was super, super hard.
Normalize it before you start forging. So whenever you take this next one, do grain refinement or normalizing cycles before you start the forging process, and relieve the stresses out of it from its existing life. So it's past life. Take that out of it, and so do a cycle of normalizing.
Like 3
and
cycles?
Then,
3
just
cycles?
two. Do like a 1650 and then like a 1400, and do those two, erase its past, and then start forging it, and it'll make your life a lot easier. And then just remember, forge it. If you're trying to move the material, keep it hot. If you're just trying to flatten or correct, you can have that, in a red or almost a gray. If you're just trying to smooth, you don't have to worry about having it glowing hot just to smooth. But yeah,
Next thing I'm gonna say is having good forging hammers makes a whole lot of difference.
Yeah,
I met this guy through another guy. His name is Paul Beisler. Let me send him a shout out. Okay, if you need a good forging hammers, look him up on Facebook. Paul Beisler. Okay, Beisler. Beisler. He made me, and I went to his shop and I watched him make me the hammer. Right, the first hammer he made me was a flat with a cross pin. I had no idea what I was looking for. So okay, make me a hammer that is most popular. He made me that one. You know, I paid him $100 and I got to watch him make the hammer. Right after, I flattened up a couple of coil springs. Okay, I need something different. This is moving, but it's not enough. So I talked to him again. This time he made me a rounding hammer with a straight pin. Now, the reason I chose a straight pin is that I'm hitting a piece of wood with a tomahawk, right? A little axe, little hatchet. And that thing moves steel like nobody's business.
That's
telling
my
you,
next
that
hammer.
straight pin, every time you hit it, it bites deep and it pushes steel away. You can see that thing stretching out right in front of your eyes. And then you flip it around with a rounding hammer for the next side, do the same thing, kind of evens it out. I was impressed as to how quickly I could flatten that 3-inch piece of steel into a 9-inch bar.
Oh yeah, that's pretty neat. I've looked it up here. So instead of having the horizontal, it's a vertical straight. Yeah, that's cool.
It's an amazing hammer. That's my next one that I want to do.
Yeah, look him up. Look him up on Facebook. Paul Beisler, is $100 for the hammer. He's awesome hammer, and I got to watch him make it.
That's an amazing price.
I was going to say it is. Yeah, we'll have to look him up. Put him in the show notes. Send me his contact information. We'll set it in the show notes.
Yeah, he was on our chat group, but he said, I had to leave because of my work. So, he left our chat. But look him up, Paul Beisler.
I would say then, with all that being said, that's a show. We got to go. Got to go find Paul Beisler.
Tell him what you want. He'll ship it right to your house.
And we will see you on the next episode of the Knives Templars.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
All right. That's a good one, guys.
It's a long show,
but it was good. It was good. It wasn't
It was fun.
We've talked this long before, but we had a lot to talk about. It flowed. I always like it when we have shows that do this. And I'm knocking on wood here. Everybody's like 99% uploaded. Nobody got disconnected. The only blurps we had tonight were with the provider, and that was just for a few seconds. I mean, Don sounds like a Price is Right announcer tonight on yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that man can do some Kmart blue light specials. Kmart shoppers for the next 15 minutes over in the jewelry department. Yeah, it's lining up. It's looking good. Good number of guys, too. Hey, Otis here.
Continue on the little forging thing right now off the show, right? I've been thinking, I'm going to flatten a couple of chisels, make me a few more bars and see how I fare. My next step, I have been drawing up in my head some canister Damascus. And that one I know I can do by hammer. I don't need a press. I don't need a power.
Why don't you need a press with that?
This. If I can flatten a chisel consistently to the length, width, and thickness that I like to make my knives, you're gonna be seeing something nice.
So why don't you?
Pretty soon.
Everything's contained in the canister, as opposed to whenever you're doing like multi-layer stacks and stuff like that. It's a pain in the butt because you have to constantly make sure you don't get oxidation in between the layers or anything like that. It's just a pain, and you sacrifice material in the welds for one, but besides that, if you're just going to be forging by hand, it's a lot easier with the canister because you can just get it super friggin' hot and beat the heck out of it.
Fill it full of bearings and metal dust.
And
here's
whiteout.
Here's a
Use the
new
whiteout.
design that I came up with,
Or
and
white spray paint.
maybe Eric can give me a good idea as if it is good or not. Right, when you have your little canister there, I was thinking putting the bottom, the first half normal size ball bearings in there. That's what I have, a lot of those ball bearings. make everything even with the some 1095 powder, right? In the middle, I have some ball bearings that are about half-inch round. Put those in the middle, 3 or 4 of those right in the middle. Finish filling that up with 1095 powder. Finish the rest of it with the normal size ball bearings again, 1095 powder. Cap it, right? So when you stretch it out, both ends you're gonna have smaller dots and those big old globs in the middle.
So you definitely need to watch Fire Creek Forge. He's done so many styles of ball bearing canister builds. He's done things where he's made his own blades, or he's went and made the canister to where it was actually set up as a sheet of steel, and then he used a piece of steel and bent it to the outline of the blade that he wanted, and then he put the bearings in the center of that, and it was just one layer of bearings as opposed to a big canister, because you don't have to make a big square, cube canister. You can make a canister that's only half an inch tall.
I wonder how they were made.
By X amount of length long. You can do that. That way you don't have to forge near as long. So, like whenever
I've seen those, they look like raindrops, right?
Yeah.
Yes, it looks like raindrops. But yeah, you don't have to make this huge, massive can. You can make a wider, thinner can. You can make your own can too. That's what I do whenever
make it longer.
Yeah. So whenever I'm doing some of my crazier things, like whenever I made that the copper Gaiuto, the K-tip Gaiuto chef's knife for the YouTube Makers Challenge, and has all the copper in it, and I did it with I did mild steel bars, and then layered copper, and then I had the actual 15 and 20 in the center, but it made it look like it had crazy clouds in it inside the copper. I just made my own can, and you can easily do it. Some people, what they'll do is they'll just take 2 pieces of angle iron, and they'll just cut the height off of 2 of them, and then just hook them together, and then cap the ends, and boom, you got yourself a can. Whatever size.
What do you use to keep the steel from sticking to the can?
So
white
a lot
out
of people
or
use
some...
white out, white spray paint.
Spray paint.
It's got the same exact stuff in it as white out. So white spray paint's the easiest one. And again, if you watch the Fire Creek Forge, you'll see him actually do that. White spray paint in it, so you can just spray it, let it drip out,
whatever
and then
white.
Start filling it. Just doesn't matter whatever it is.
You have to let it dry, Eric. Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
I don't know how good that would be, but I've seen a couple of times where they use those stainless steel foil.
Yeah.
They make a coat inside.
Yep.
But would that stretch as you're stretching the can?
Yeah, it'll stretch, but the issue with that is you get it's if you spray paint it, it's coats everything on the inside of that canister. If you put the little foil sleeves, you're hoping that you can keep them spread out while you're trying to fill it and do all that stuff, and it's just a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I guess so.
You said ass on a family-friendly podcast. I did too.
When I'm ready to move into that, I'll come and talk to you. Because, like I said, forging. No, you're good. No problem. Forging. My wife just came in. Forging. I don't want to start with a flat stock of a W2, and I'll beat it into a knife, and it's perfect steel. Like I said, I hate the idea of doing that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
If I'm forging, like I said, I want some odd shape, something like like an actual.
Y'all saw how crazy this piece was, right?
Yeah.
Like this section that became the tang was 2.5 inches wide.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, and it was like a crazy weird shape too.
I have a bunch. I put an APB on leaf springs, and my next door neighbor, he brought me 2 sets of from trucks. I have some pieces there that is 3/4 of an inch thick.
I wish y'all could
I
see
mean,
it.
I won't be able to grind that out.
So I don't know if it'll show up on camera,
that.
but you can see these little lines that run through here.
Oh yeah, I see them.
So that's what happens whenever you pinch the steel that much. You actually change the whole flow of the actual steel, and you'll see that going through as you're forging, and it looks really cool because you're seeing the flow of the actual steel come together and then go back into the tang, and it looks really cool in the process.
Now, did you put your maker's mark in that blade?
Nope.
You going to?
Yeah. So I've got new maker's marks coming that'll be on the spine.
Oh, okay. Cool.
I had to get them. I had to get them laser cut, but it'll have the TRE on there, and all of these forged to finish knives will have it on the spine.
You'll still be using your old logo on other knives, though?
Yeah.
Okay,
these
good.
trying to get that stuff to etch, like the ones that have the forge scale on them.
Oh, and you got the different layers. The surface is not completely flat either.
No,
hey
it
guys,
does not etch right.
Hey guys, our wives are going to be looking for us here soon. So
my wife's done going to bed, man.
we can keep talking, but I'm going to go ahead and hit the record button, and we are gone.